Okay. Good evening. We've been really very honored to be welcomed into the home of Miss Theodora Lacey, and Theodora is the recipient of the Ethical Society's 2017 Ethical Recognition Award, which we have named posthumously for Jack Rubenstein, who is a beloved past president of the Bergen Ethical Society. And I should say we are truly honored to be able to give the award to Theodora Lacey, whom many of us have known, of course, for many years for her peerless activism in Bergen County. I should mention that the Ethical Humanist Award has been given by the Society since 1991 to usually a local activist who carries forward the ideals of ethical culture in the broader world, but is not a member of our community. And Theodora fits those criteria. I would just like to read the inscription on it. It says, Jack Rubenstein Ethical Humanist Award. The Ethical Culture Society of Bergen County honors and recognizes Theodora Lacey for her life of dedication to civil rights, education, and justice. From her participation in the Montgomery bus boycott to her efforts fighting for voting rights, demanding fair housing, leading school integration, and chairing Bergen County's annual celebration of the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., given this day of June 3rd, 2017. So here is the award, and Theodora, again, we are most honored that you have been willing to receive our Ethical Humanist Award. It's most worthy. Thank you so very much. Right.
Thank you. Right. I'm extremely honored to accept this award.
What I'd like to do now is take the opportunity, and Theodora said that she'd very readily lend herself to this, to talk to her a while about her background and how her background has led into her commitments. I should say that most of us in Bergen County know you from your chairpersonship of the Martin Luther King birthday celebration, which takes place on Martin Luther King Day every year. You've been doing that for many years. But of course, that's your most recent activity, and it stands on top of a lifelong commitment to civil rights, and it's really about your career in civil rights that we would like primarily to talk to you this evening. First, where you were born and the family into which you were born.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
I can't explain how pleased I am and honored that you take the time to listen to my story. I'd like to say that everyone has a story to tell. And my story begins in the 1600s, the Middle Passage. It starts in a period of time when discrimination was the law of the land. A time when my great-grandmother was a slave in Bedford, Virginia, and sold to a plantation in Alabama, never to see her mother again.
I see. And where were you born?
I was born in Montgomery.
You were born in Montgomery?
Okay. Yes.
As a child growing up in Montgomery, what was your feeling, your sensibility about your environment, about your relationship to other African Americans, and also your relationship to the white community?
At that time, there were only European whites, so that you didn't have the diversity as we know it today.
Right.
But it was not unusual for us to play ball or to jump rope or things in the yard. I was not allowed to go into the theaters, not allowed to drink water from a soda fountain in the drugstores or soda stores. There were some stores that did not welcome you at all.
Right. As a child growing up, how was the segregation explained to you?
I guess it really hit home to me when I was 12. Okay. My parents gave me a birthday party, and I had a very good friend that was white. So we played together, we studied together. We didn't go to the same schools, but and the community. So I was certain that she would come to my birthday party, and she was not allowed. That was the beginning of it.
In Montgomery, were you a witness to overt violence? Actually broke out?
It was not until I moved to Teaneck that I learned to appreciate policemen. I was deathly afraid of policemen. And one night, a man ran his car into a ditch on the street where I lived. The police came, and he said, "Get back." People were crowded around to see what had happened. One person thought that he knew the occupant of the car and wanted to see what had gone on. The police yelled at us to get back. But this one black man was peering in the window to see if he could identify the police, and the police killed him.
Oh.
Said, "Didn't I tell you to get back?" That resonates with me still today. I mean, I can almost, that was such a traumatic
How old were you at the
experience.
time?
I was 8 at the time.
8.
8.
Well,
Just-
I've always been impressed, and many of us have, with your early contact with Martin Luther King. Can you explain the relationship and how your folks befriended Martin Luther King and how you got to know him?
So, my father, as I said, is president of the Board of Trustees.
Oh, he was
He
at the
was.
church. I
He
see.
was of the
Right.
church. And he was really quite responsible for encouraging Dr. King to come to Montgomery. He was quite close to my family.
Right.
And I can remember we've had birthday parties, you know, celebrating birthday parties. He was a most impressive person, hearing him from the
Yes.
pulpit. I mean, just you were often in awe. If you were in a social gathering with him, you would hardly know he was there. It did not matter to him what your occupation was, or
Mhm.
where you were from, or if you were a member of his church, or he was very quiet in the sense of not being verbose, always kind and engaging, and wanted to know what you were doing.
I want to talk to you a bit about, of course, about the Montgomery bus boycott itself.
Sure.
Let's start off. Did you know Rosa Parks?
All my life.
And
She
Lacey
and my
May,
mother
yeah.
were childhood friends.
Oh, really?
And I can't tell you the times I've had dinner with her in my home.
Uh-huh.
But she was very active in her church,
Right.
and very active in the NAACP because her husband was a staunch civil rights activist.
Right.
While she was not selected as the person, she was ideally the
Mhm.
person. So when she refused to give up her seat, Joanne Robinson didn't know that she was going to do that day, nor anyone else. But when she did so, it was perfect.
Right.
Because everybody in the town
Very
knew
interesting. So it was both,
that she-
in one sense, the stage was set for this, but on
Right.
the other, the fact that she became the
Right.
primary actor
Right.
was a matter of happenstance.
Happenstance.
Right, got it. So it was a
Right.
mix of both.
When Rosa Parks was arrested, Joanne Robinson found out, and she prints a leaflet, and I have a copy of it here somewhere, that says, "We must boycott the buses. It's time to boycott the buses." So they met that night, many of the ministers, including Dr. King, Joanne Robinson, and other people, and they discussed, yes, this is time to pursue a boycott. And Dr. King, of course, was very eloquent in speaking. He was the youngest person there. People knew him and thought he would be a good spokesperson,
Right.
you know, because he could
Right.
articulate to the community.
And it's interesting that the idea
And so-
for a boycott was not his.
Not his.
Right, it was developed by others,
Yes,
right?
not his.
By Professor
And-
Robinson. And so
Right.
on.
And it took some, you know, it was so interesting, though, that out of that he was able to coalesce the community in a way that it
Right.
had not been. I can remember the first morning
Mhm.
waking up early to go out to see if anyone was going to get on the bus. It was like a miracle. People were just how they came together
Was there outward, I'm sure there was, external intimidation by the white power structure?
Oh,
I mean, and
drive-by shootings.
What drive-by
The
shootings?
bombings of churches.
Right.
My
Mm.
parents were quite concerned with me going out, and being that kind of involved
Mhm.
because it was dangerous. It was not just,
Yeah. Okay,
The
it's just-
night that Dr. King's house was bombed, we happened to have been in a meeting, and someone came in and told him that his house had been bombed. When he shared that information with us, we, of course, jumped up to leave to go see what happened because his wife and young baby were home. And he said, no matter what has happened tonight, this movement will continue, and it will continue nonviolently.
But when did you move to Teaneck? You were
We
in the
bought
South?
this house in 1960. When we moved here, there were signs everywhere, look elsewhere, and all sorts of things. Not the same signs as in the South, but having the same meaning. So we were, I guess, concerned about maintaining a more integrated kind of environment for our children. What really pushed us out of the South was our son not being able to drink from a water fountain and not understanding why he couldn't, not being able to go in the parks and play on the trampoline. And so we knew that in many northern cities, something happens to the schools when they become predominantly African American. We were able to convince the Board of Ed to try something to change the pattern in town. Not because we were concerned about our children being unable to learn to read and write, but that it was so limiting to their world, not being able to communicate or to relate to people who were different from them. And so we worked hard, and finally they came up with the centralized sixth grade plan.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that sixth grade experience was quite if you speak with any students who went through that experience, it was just marvelous.
One has to be both perplexed and very upset about the enduring nature, the persistence of racism that is so deeply rooted in this society. And with someone like Donald Trump, who's given permission for every racist and xenophobe and bigot to come out of the closet, sure enough, we see it again. If you see any signs, empirically based signs for optimism, we would certainly want to know it, and so forth. But where do you see the current moment?
Like you, I knew that this was not post-racial.
Right.
After
Right.
I was pleasantly pleased and elated and overwhelmed when President Obama came into office. And I thought we had made a giant step, tremendous step. And I was shocked, really. I never dreamed that we would go back to that stage. I knew that there were still issues, but I never thought we would go back to the kind of hatred and the ugliness
Right.
that is being spewed. But it is because of these young people. That's our hope. I think it's because of these young people whose experience and vision will not allow them to accept the bigotry and hatred that's being spewed, will cause us to start moving forward again. I hope so.
I certainly hope so too. Theodora Lacey, this has been both a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.